So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about your writing in ways that I hope that you'll think about improving it. Um, you have a lot of big ideas in your writing. You have a lot to say. You have lots of views that you do a good job of backing up with evidence, and you reference things that, deepen, everything that you say, and it backs it up. So in terms of content and like your ideas, you have a lot of strength there. So it's the actual mechanics of writing that I'd like to really focus on. If I could give one suggestion about your writing, I'd probably say chop it up a little bit and actually make your sentences simpler. Put less into each sentence as you work on your writing. That's my main suggestion. So I'm going to give you an example from your very first sentence where we encounter an issue that actually makes your sentence mean something that I think you don't want it to mean. Okay, from my perspective, comma. Okay, that's all good. We can just sort of, I'm going to highlight that to say we can leave that piece alone, that there's no problem there. But I'm going to hit enter so that we can see the rest of how this sentence is functioning. Okay, so we can leave from my perspective alone. You can leave it in the sentence. Okay, I do not believe that American schools are failing, and that the educational system here in the United States, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so you're saying I do not believe, okay, and then you say you have a parallelism set up here. I'll just kind of highlight it here. I do not believe that blah blah blah, and then that blah blah blah. Okay, so you've set up a parallelism. Both of these that expressions, all that and everything that follows, are tied to the I do not believe. But I don't think that that was what you intended. Because what you're saying here is, I do not believe that American schools are failing and that the educational system here in the United States in the past 50 years has made great strides in improving upon itself once issues are identified. I think maybe you're saying that you actually do think that the U.S. system has made great strides in improving itself once issues are identified. But wait, the way you have it set up is you're saying the opposite. You're saying you don't believe American schools are failing, and you don't believe that the educational system has made great strides. And I don't think that's what you're saying here. So what I would recommend for fixing this is, I do not believe that American schools are failing. I would just say period. You can say, throw in a little gooey opening expression like, on the contrary, the educational system here in the United States in the past 50 years has made great strides in improving itself once issues are identified. Okay, so I guess my main tip, like I said earlier, was just chop up your sentences more. Make them less lengthy so that you make sure that your ideas are flowing. Okay, I'm going to pause you while I go and look for another example of something that I'd like you to look at. Okay, so the next 3 or so sentences are chopped up better so that they have simple ideas in them and they don't have the same exact issue as the first one. But I think in the next 3 sentences we do see an issue with commas. So I'm going to actually, let's see here. I'm going to ask that you kind of look at commas and just make sure you're using them effectively. For example, if American schools are failing, you should have a comma there. And why there are 65 undergrad students in this class that all seem to be doing well. Okay, so that sentence needed a comma, but then that sentence becomes a, I think we call it a fragment, where it's like it doesn't really go anywhere. I think maybe you meant to say if American schools are failing, then how can the 65 undergraduate students in this class be doing so well? That would work. That may not be exactly what you're trying to ask, but the way you had it written was a fragment. It wasn't a complete sentence. Next sentence, if American schools are failing, you want to put a comma there, then explain all of these instructors here at EWG across Georgia, across the country, and their degrees. Okay, that makes sense. The problem from my perspective, and good use of commas there, does not seem to be an issue with educational system. You probably meant the educational system, and I would say put a comma there, comma, but rather a much larger issue with the society itself. Okay, so all right, let's go back here. I'm going to pause you while I look at the next paragraph. And I'm not going to go through everything, but I just wanted to give you a couple of ideas for things that you could be looking at in your writing from here on out. Okay, so I want to look, oopsie, let me repaste that. I just want to look at some of the writing in the very end. There are a few minor issues in the middle writing, and really in blogging, the standard, sort of the convention with blogging is that you kind of overlook a few mistakes because it is not supposed to be totally polished. It doesn't have to be totally polished writing. If I'm expecting perfect, polished, publishable stuff, well, that's, in my opinion, that's a little too much to demand when you guys are doing so much writing in the class. But at the same time, I want you guys to make sure that you're not letting too much slide in your writing. So for me, if I see past about 2 mistakes, I really need to call you out on it and try to help you see what those mistakes are and try to push you towards some resources that maybe can help you. So trying to strike that balance here without being too much of a hawk. All right, so I was a high school dropout. All right, so that's great. I'll just sort of highlight it and tuck it away. The yellow just means we can ignore it. When I was 16 years of age and in my sophomore year high school, you could put an of there, comma, that comma is good. When I was 16 years of age and in my sophomore year of high school, comma, a straight A student, comma, that works. I dropped out of high school because of social and economic issues. Here's where we hit a writing issue. Not because of the educational system. I would say that at that point in the sentence, I dropped out of high school because of social and economic issues. You could put a period there. You could put probably an M dash. Not because of the educational system. There's a number of things you could do to break that up. But there was a problem at that juncture. It turns it into a sort of a run-on sentence if you don't do something like what I just showed you. Okay, so social and economic issues not because of the educational system. In fact, I think Word even picks up on it. They're seeing an issue with that. Well, maybe not. They're not underlying anymore. But anyway, if there had been a choice of dropping out of society and remaining in school, you don't even need that word option because you've already talked about choice. So let's just get rid of that word. So if there had been a choice of dropping out of society and remaining in school, comma, which would have taken care of my issues, then I would have gladly chosen that option. I think there's a little redundancy here. I think you could either pick to keep which would have taken care of my issues or keep the then I would have gladly chosen that option. If there had been a choice of dropping out of society and remaining in school, then my issues would have been taken care of, period, or then I would have gladly chosen that option. I think that you've put too much in this sentence. So this is an example of a sentence where you can cut some stuff out. Finally, let's look at the last sentence, see if there's any issues. It was never the institutions of education or my lack of ability in performing the task that I was assigned. I truly loved school. Okay, so this sentence is a run-on, but you can fix it. Okay, it was never the institutions of education or my lack of ability in performing the task that I was assigned. I'd say make it a period. In fact, I truly love school or something like that. I mean, you could even just keep it simple and say I truly loved school, and that would fix those issues. So as you can see, it's not about your ideas that you have in your writing, and really that's the hard part, is getting people to write about something. You don't have that issue. It's just issues related to how you string together your sentences and where you end up, where you chop them out, and where you maybe put too much into a sentence. You try to make a sentence do too much. You're very ambitious with your sentences, but your writing will become more clear if you kind of say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do less with my sentences. I'm going to let my good ideas and my good content speak for themselves, speak a little simpler, and do less in those sentences. That way you write strong sentences that are truly sentences. All right, so I hope I've kind of made myself clear. Um, and I hope that obviously I hope to help you improve your writing. So let me know if you have any questions. I do have inside of the drop boxes, I have this tool that you might see in there. You might notice that I put it in all of the drop boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and find it. It is the writing rubric EDUC. So far, these 4 things are the most common issues that I'm seeing with you guys. I see the least amount of problems with subject-verb agreement, so I probably shouldn't even make that number 1. But in your case, the main issues that you're showing are with commas and with run-on sentences, comma splices, fused sentences. So what I recommend is that you go check out the OWL page on commas and the OWL page on run-ons, comma splices, and fused sentences. Because you came and visited me in my office, I'm not going to deduct points because I know you're on campus and I have a feeling I'm going to see you again. So I'm not going to actually hold this, I'm not going to sort of keep your piece ungraded. I'm going to let it go as is, and I'm going to trust that you have watched this video, you've considered these things, and that you're going to monitor it more closely from now on. Okay? So we don't have to worry about you requesting a regrade on this particular assignment. All right. Hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.